Pleasure to welcome Senator Michael Baumgartner. Senator, good to have you on the show, and congratulations on the primary results.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's great to be with you today.
So you want to go from being senator to senator, except a little bit of a change in status.
Well, it's the same issues that we got to deal with at all levels of government. How can we get government to live within its means, stop all this reckless spending, and try and get the jobs growth going, not through more government, but through private sector and entrepreneurship.
Well, I got to tell you something. I always admit if I have a dog in the fight. I'm a Clark County resident, so if you became a senator, you'd be my senator, so I have that bias, and I would very much like to see Cant Well removed, because I think she just does not do much for the state of Washington, although she tries to sell a good game on that. So what do you think are going to be the key issues between you and her campaign?
Well, I think you touched on one of it, which is where has Maria Cant Vote been? I mean, what has she really done for Washington State? The answer really is not much. She bought her way into the Senate using her own personal wealth 12 years ago, and since then she's had a record of failure. Helping double the national debt, unemployment's gone up. She's been involved with things like borrowing money from the Chinese to give to Solyndra, and we're going to talk about all those issues. And I think we have a great case to make with having helped write bipartisan, fiscally responsible budgets in the state legislature, understanding that small businesses grow jobs. And I left my business career to go to Iraq and Afghanistan, and have seen both some of the successes and some of the failures from our policies overseas, and I think we can help out with that too.
Very good. So what would be, if you became a United States Senator, you'd be on the junior side, because you'd be brand new back there, so you wouldn't necessarily get any big committee positions, but what do you think you could help get pushed through, especially if the Senate remains in Democrat hands in the new year?
Well, so we've been through this process the last 2 years, a little bit here in the state legislature, where I've been a member of the minority as a freshman senator. But even given that, 2 years ago, I had the biggest bill in the Senate, or the state legislature, to shrink the size of government. So my bill took 4 government agencies, consolidated down to 2, and changed slightly the amount of employees subject to collective bargaining. And that was a real short knife fight with some of the state employee unions, and a tough thing to do politically, but we got it done. Also in the state legislature last year, it was my bill that helped change the state's pension system, so we have a more realistic pension system. We need to do the same kind of things at the federal level. We need to look at real entitlement reform. How are we going to protect Medicare by making it more financially sustainable? So I'd like to work on those sort of issues. Hopefully I'll be able to work with a guy in the other chamber, a guy like Paul Ryan, who's a real role model for me. And then on the foreign policy issues, which really is the remit of the U.S. Senate, I'll make sure that when wars are fought, that they're properly authorized, that they have real exit strategies, and that we won't waste a tremendous amount of resources trying to put a democracy into a place like Afghanistan, when we should be really trying to hunt down terrorists as a more realistic option.
Let me ask you about a tougher issue, and I know this is a tough one when you're running against a Democrat who I'm sure just loves to bring home the bacon all day long. That's popular. The problem is when you do it, if you bring home money for light rail, if you bring home money for other public projects, it runs counter to the idea of getting the federal government to live within its means. So how do you split the difference, or what kind of standard are you going to offer to the voters? Because as a Washington State voter, I'd like to see the federal government stop spending money it doesn't have, even if the projects are popular.
Well, I can't beat Maria Cant Well if the conversation is, who can get more stuff for Washington State. That's not a conversation I can win, because that's a broken system that we have right now in Washington, D.C. But if you care about your children's future, if you think and you realize that $16 trillion in debt is a national security issue, and if you worry about the infringement upon liberties from all this spending, then that's a conversation that we can and we will win. So we have to get back to basics in this country, and not to look to government to solve all of our problems and all the challenges we have, but to look at the individual accountability, those core values that made America great. So if you like the system as it is, vote Cant Well. I think that system's broken, and that we need real change in Washington, D.C.
Well, and that's the thing. What happens then when you have something come up before you for a vote, and they say, we'd like to send a couple of $1 billion to the state of Washington to do this project, and the standard argument is, if we don't take it, some other state will take it, and that's how we've gotten ourselves to $1 trillion in deficit and $16 trillion in debt. How do you end up answering that?
Well, I would compare it to what happened in Florida, where they were offered billions of dollars for an unrealistic rail plan, and one governor accepted it, new governor came in and said it's actually going to cost the state much more than it's worth, and no federal government, we're not going to take that. And so, look, bottom money from China that our children have to pay back is not free money. And we have to have people in Washington, D.C. who realize that, but we have to be pragmatic in the approach to how we do it. You know, there are important projects here in Washington State, Hanford cleanup, some infrastructure projects, and things with our ports, you know, where it is realistic and appropriate that we're going to continue to have an important relationship with federal government. And I'll certainly be supportive of those. But I want to do that within the context of working towards a balanced budget, in the context of working towards real jobs growth, in a context that is realistic and lives within the states, America's means. You know, none of this is rocket science to put back together. We know what made America great. We just need to protect that and get back to doing it and stop all the spending.
How can folks find your website and help out your campaign?
You can find out more at www.votebaumgartner.com. Baumgartner's a long one. It's a tough one to fit on a yard sign, but it sticks with you once you get your head around it. Actually, my father's a professor of forestry, and I had another uncle that was a smoke jumper, and I spent some time in the forest. Baumgartner literally means tree farmer in German. So if you think about road tree farmer, you can remember it too. But it's votebaumgartner.com.
That's a good one. Senator, thanks for the time. I hope we're calling you U.S. Senator by November.
Well, thank you, and actually I'll be down in Vancouver next week, and it's always a pleasure to be on your show.
Look forward to talking to you. Senator Michael Baumgartner, state senator, would like to become U.S. Senator. Could we please replace Maria Cant Vote Well?
FM News 1.